Hello and a very good morning. You're watching WION World is One. I am Shivangi Shukla, and in the next 30 minutes, we'll take you through all the top stories on WION Speed News. India's Prime Minister designated Narendra Modi will take oath for his second successive term on May 30th at the Rashtrapati Bhavan in the national capital. President Ramnath Kovind will be administering the oath of office. The announcement comes 3 days after Modi-led Bharatiya Janata Party notched up a massive victory in just concluded national polls. BJP-led National Democratic Alliance returned to power on the Thursday after winning 353 seats, beating its previous tally of 336 seats. PM-designate Narendra Modi will be holding what is being called a Thanksgiving procession for the people of Varanasi later today. Modi is visiting Varanasi to thank the people for reposing faith in him and offer prayers at the famous Kashi Vishwanath temple. This will be Modi's first visit to the constituency after he won the Lok Sabha elections by a massive margin of 4.79 lakh votes. He not only retained the seat but increased his victory margin by 1 lakh votes as compared to the 2014 general elections. A major setback for traditional parties across Europe. Far rights and Greens gain early lead in European Union elections. Emmanuel Macron's En Marche, in fact, is pushed into second place by Marine Le Pen's National Rally in France. Germany's centre-right beaten into third place by the Greens. Voter turnout of 51% is highest for Europe parliamentary elections in last 25 years. All 28 EU member states are electing the members of the European Parliament. UK had been due to leave the European Union on 29th of March, but when that deadline was missed, participation in the EU election became mandatory. Prominent economist Gitanas Nausėda has won Lithuania's presidential elections after his opponent conceded defeat. According to the data provided by Lithuania's Central Electoral Commission, Nausėda secured 70% of the votes. His opponent Ingrida Šimonytė, a former finance minister, also congratulated Nausėda on winning the presidential elections. The president's main task is to oversee Lithuania's foreign and security policy that includes acting as the supreme commander of the armed forces. U.S. President Donald Trump met the new Japanese Emperor Naruhito and Empress Masako in the Imperial Palace on day 3 of his visit. They were welcomed in a formal ceremony. Trump is the first foreign dignitary to be received by Emperor Naruhito since he inherited the throne earlier this month. Trump and the U.S. First Lady are also invited to a state banquet at the palace. Trump is on a 4-day visit to Japan. He met Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe. U.S. President Donald Trump presented a special Trump trophy to the winner of a sumo tournament in Tokyo. A giant eagle-topped residence, in fact, the President's Cup went to wrestler Asano Yama. The president hoisted the hefty cup into Asano Yama's arms with the help of an official. Trump and his wife Melania attended the sumo tournament to get a taste of one of Japan's most treasured cultural institutions. A president and first lady of U.S. joined Japanese Prime Minister Shinzo Abe and his wife to Ryogoko Kokigikan Stadium to watch sumo wrestling. Venezuela's opposition leader Guaido, in a rally on Sunday, conveyed his decision to send delegates for talks with President Nicolas Maduro's representatives. His decision to send delegates to Oslo for talks have been upheld by his supporters. Many nations have also recognized him as the country's rightful interim ruler. The head of Sudan's military council visited UAE on Sunday to meet Abu Dhabi's crown prince. Sudan had acknowledged the support extended by UAE after President Omar al-Bashir was ousted. The visit stressed the importance of dialogue between the Sudanese people in this sensitive phase where the protesters are constantly demanding for a civilian rule. Thousands of people still remain affected by floods and landslides that hit Paraguay this month. People are still huddled in their flooded houses in the city of Puerto Rico, in fact, Puerto Falcon in Paraguay. The water level of the Paraguay River is nearing a disaster level. Floods caused a displacement of some 70,000 families and affected at least 90% of the population in its capital city, Paraguay. Brazilians gathered in Rio de Janeiro and cities to show their support for far-right President Jair Bolsonaro. Bolsonaro supporters protested against lawmakers whom they see as putting up roadblocks to the leader's legislative agenda. Bolsonaro won elections last November, but since taking office on January 1st, has seen his popularity plummet in several polls. According to the latest survey, more Brazilians disapprove his government than approve it, which is a surprisingly fast erosion of popularity since Bolsonaro took office in January. ISIS has claimed responsibility for an IED attack in Bangladesh. The attack was carried out in Dhaka's Mali Bagh area. An improvised explosive device was thrown at a police vehicle. The explosion injured a female police officer and two others. A cop suffered injuries to her left leg. Three people were killed and 8 were wounded in 3 explosions in different parts of Nepal. Police say an outlawed communist group are to be blamed. Police say the suspect group that once split from the ruling Communist Party was responsible for the incident. The first explosion occurred in northern Kathmandu, while the second blast happened inside a house in the central party of the city. Police also claim that 4 pamphlets from the suspected group were found at the second site of explosion. Area around the blast sites have been cordoned off and injured have been taken to a local hospital. Sri Lankan Navy has put its vessels on alert after intelligence reports of boats allegedly carrying 15 local Islamic State terrorists to India. Coast Guard boats have also been alerted along the India-Sri Lanka maritime boundary. The Sri Lankan Navy, however, said it was not received any information regarding the terror threat from India. Remember, reports had said 15 ISIS terrorists from Sri Lanka have set off India's Lakshadweep Islands. Islamic State had claimed responsibility for Easter attacks in Sri Lanka in which over 250 people were killed. An earthquake of magnitude 8.0 hit northern Peru in the early hours of Sunday. The quake had the epicenter at an intermediate depth of 115 kilometers and was felt not just in Peru but neighboring Ecuador as well. At least one person has been killed and 11 people injured in Peru, while 7 injuries have been reported in Ecuador. Damage has also been caused to numerous buildings, roads and bridges. Authorities are further accessing the damage and helping out all those affected. And to assess the damage caused by the earthquake, Peru's President Martin Vizcarra has in fact flown over the northern region of the country. The quake with a magnitude of 8 in the Richter scale is the biggest since 2007 to hit the region. A tornado made landfall in the town of Oklahoma on Saturday. A motel building with over 30 people inside was put to ground. Emergency services were rushed to the site. It remains unclear if the people made it out of the building safely, but 2 casualties have been reported as a result of the tornado. A post by the Union City Police Department says the storm brought severe damage involving serious injuries and fatalities. People have also been asked to remain aware of the weather and be prepared. Over 2,000 people in Hong Kong took out a march to China's representative office. Today, they demanded that Beijing hold full accountability for the crackdown on students at the Tiananmen Square in 1989. On June 4th, 1989, China's People's Liberation Army had violently crushed the students-led democracy protest, killing thousands. No death toll has been released even after 3 decades. A tragic event still remains a taboo in China, and authorities have refused to admit full accountability. An annual candlelight vigil marking the 30th anniversary will be held on June 4th. A Yellow Vest protest march turned violent in Brussels, with demonstrators pelting buildings and police using pepper spray in confrontations. Apart from several hundred protesters in Yellow Vest demonstrations against social injustice, there were also hooded people dressed in black taunting authorities. Police on horseback patrolled the historic centre, and scuffles broke out in different areas. Authorities were seen detaining several people as well. Belgium held the holding a general election on Sunday, and there are also elections across European Union for the European Parliament. More than 10,000 bikers, most of whom are Vietnamese, participated in a demonstration of annual parade for Memorial Day, keeping U.S. President Donald Trump's vow of the spectacle alive. On Sunday, the bikers rode in a rolling thunder ride through the streets of Washington. The event was organized to pay emotional tribute to the fallen and missing in action soldiers lost in U.S. military combat. As part of Crimean's Twin Festival, brothers and sisters marched with their parents on Sunday. The festival, held along the embankment of the Black Sea resort of Yalta, celebrates siblinghood at best. Parade was held in the city for the second time and brought together about 50 Paris twins. In fact, these were twins, most of whom were dressed alike. Most children are between the age group of 1 to 10. Russian city Sochi celebrated the beginning of the tourist season with a colorful carnival. Tourists from across Russia and abroad were welcomed by street performances by over 2,000 dancers, acrobats and stilt walkers. Theatre and cinema was the theme for this year's festivities. Participants showcased elements of battle. In fact, these ballet were stage scenes from famous plays and dressed up as Hollywood stars as well. A festive march was witnessed by over 15,000 people. The Russian city of St. Petersburg celebrated its 316th birthday with the Guinness World Record, which gave thousands of spectators the shudders. 556 drummers from 80 drumming groups and bands came from 40 cities and towns across the country, as well as Ukraine and Belarus, to take part in the record-winning crescendo. To qualify for the record crescendo, the drummers had to play the same drum roll, starting one after another until the last one joined. A previous drum crescendo record was set in Sao Paulo, Brazil in March the year, but involved only 104 drummers.